as that the day of Christ is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first.
Lilia, the threats warn for the potential of violence against all levels of law enforcement officials. The threats are mainly occurring online, and FBI officials are concerned about their agents and staff. A joint FBI Homeland Security memo sent to law enforcement across the country warns of growing threats against them, including a threat to place a so-called dirty bomb in front of FBI headquarters and general calls for civil war and armed rebellion.
Taken off the ventilator and able to say a few words a day after he was stabbed an estimated 12 times, just as he was supposed to give a lecture on freedom of speech.
Government warning tonight that Americans should consider not traveling to Tijuana because of escalating gang violence there. Thousands of Mexican troops have been deployed to keep the peace now. Tijuana's mayor is blaming drug cartels for terrorizing residents by setting fires in the city. Officials say they burned at least 15 vehicles and used some of them to block off the streets. All of this violence leaving tourists wondering exactly where now to turn.
I'm here along the West Coast. Latest quake shows some movement with a 4.9 earthquake now just coming in to the area around the Mediterranean region. It looks like 4.9. A lot of activity kicking up here throughout the globe. We're talking about a massive amount of earthquake activity. I have not seen it this busy in quite some time.
And we have an earthquake swarm to talk about, a fairly big one that's taking up the entire southwest of the Pacific Ocean. You can see here we have volcano discovery opened up, and we're looking at the last 2 days of seismic activity, but pretty much every one of these earthquakes has fallen into the last day and a half, and more specifically, these down here have happened in the last few hours, including a 7.0 just north of New Zealand right here. It was downgraded to a 6.7, but I can assure you this was a 7 to a 7.2 earthquake. And then just moments ago, southeast of the Loyalty Islands, we had a 6.4 downgraded to a 6.2. And what's good about these is we can finally rely on the USGS to provide some info on these significant earthquakes, all taking place relatively along the same part of the Pacific Ocean, a very known place for large, deep earthquakes.
And there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places.
On Saturday, I declared a public health emergency of international concern over the global monkeypox outbreak. More than 18,000 cases of monkeypox have now been reported to WHO from 78 countries, with more than 70% of cases reported from the European region and 25% from the region of the Americas.
After decades off our collective radar, polio has once again reared its head, with health experts urging unvaccinated Americans to get inoculated against the disease.
Never have guessed it in a million years that it would pop up again.
Officials in New York State confirm wastewater samples collected in Orange County contain the paralyzing and potentially deadly virus. Those tests ordered after a 20-year-old man in nearby Rockland County tested positive last month. Experts fear hundreds more are infected.
So I would assume that we have people that are positive from it.
This latest strain also detected in the United Kingdom and Israel. For decades, polio has only been active overseas, namely in Afghanistan and Pakistan.
And labor shortages, extreme weather, shipping delays, supply chain disruptions weighing on people across the country. Take baby formula as a recent example. Mishaps in the chain can lead to nationwide shortages on some of the most basic items that we all need. So, what else could be next?
This is not just about Ukraine, this is about the world. And Ukraine doesn't just export wheat, for example, it exports sunflower oil. Sunflower oil is a major ingredient in fast foods. It's a major ingredient in vegetable oil. We are looking within a few months at a major food shortage, and probably not as much in the United States because we're very abundant with our farmlands and our agricultural industry, but around the world. It's gonna hit the Middle East, it's gonna hit Africa. There will be starvation, there will be mass exoduses, there will be refugees leaving these regions. So yeah, I think we should escort them. I think other countries with a navy should escort them.
And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God.
August 2nd, 2022. I woke up at 3:33 a.m. I got up to get a glass of water, and then I got back in the bed. I felt that the Holy Spirit was getting ready to show me something. It felt very urgent, and so I fell back asleep. As I fell back asleep, I felt my spirit get pulled out of my body. This was very scary because I felt the urgency in the gravitational pull. As I gained consciousness, I finally realized that I was in the clouds and I was hovering over a river. It was past midnight. Somehow, I knew the time. As I observed my surroundings, I noticed beneath me was the spirit of the Antichrist, and his appearance was that of a snake. As he moved forward, I looked up to see where he was going, and he was headed toward the other side of the river. Yet again, I was pulled with urgency. I was so shaken up that I started crying, saying, "What else must I see?" I saw the moon at the end of the river. I felt in my gut that something else was coming. I asked the Holy Spirit, "It's Jesus, isn't it?" The audible voice answered, saying, "He's almost here." I was pulled backwards into the direction that we just came from. And as I woke up, I was still hearing the echo. "He's almost here." As I woke up, I looked down to check the time, and it was 6 a.m. I didn't even realize that time had flew by. The encounter felt like it was only but a few minutes. This was the realization that we have but a short time. And many people believe that we have time, but that time is actually going to be cut in half. Because we are over time. We are in the last seconds.